present and accounted for. Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being held remotely as a meeting with a quorum of the public body physically present is not practical or prudent. State's declaration of a disaster due to the impacts of COVID-19. Okay, can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Megan, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick,
Here.
Trustee Sheehan,
Here.
Trustee Kucera,
Here.
Trustee Lautner,
Here.
Trustee Zora, here. Trustee Seidel, here. President DeCipio,
Here.
a quorum is present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, moving on to consent agenda or public participation. And we have no callers, Julia?
We don't have any callers, and I did not receive any public comments.
Okay, so moving on, Megan, consent agenda?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes. 1, Village Board meeting, June 23rd, 2020. 2, executive session meeting, June 23rd, 2020. 3, special Village Board meeting, June 29th, 2020. 4, Village Board work session, July 14th, 2020. And 5, executive session meeting, July 14th, 2020. B, action, motion to authorize the President and Chairperson of the Finance Committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the Treasurer and Village Clerk to sign checks in payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. And C, action, motion to authorize the Village Treasurer and Village Clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next Village Board meeting, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Thank you, Megan. Motion to approve the consent agenda is presented. So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora? Yes. And Trustee Seidel? Yes. The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, moving on, Village Manager's report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just one item to report, and that is regarding potential COVID funding. There are 2 levels of funding that the village is currently working on, and for which staff is attending webinars in order to best understand how to prepare and apply for the funding for COVID-related expenses. The first level of funding is through FEMA disaster relief. So we have already submitted our preliminary application, and we are working on that. The second layer of funding is the CARES Act funding, which is a grant share program through Cook County, and staff has been attending those webinars in order to understand that application process. The application for the CARES Act funding through the county does require 2 things coming up on our calendar. The first is the approval of an intergovernmental agreement, an IGA. Staff anticipates that we would like to have that before the board at the August work session meeting. That allows us to continue through our application for the CARES Act share funding. Secondly, we have to report to the county our intentions to utilize that funding by September. So staff will follow through on those requirements. Next week's webinar will focus on the FEMA sub-grant or co-grant funding. We're looking forward to that webinar because that's the information that we've been waiting for. So with that concludes my report, unless if there's any questions about these two levels of funding available to municipalities.
Thank you, Julie. Any trustees have any questions to Julia? I'm completely frozen here.
I'm frozen too.
Still working here.
Yeah, still working. We can still see you and hear you guys.
You look good to me. How about now?
Yeah, okay.
Moving on. Okay, moving on to Administration Committee, Trustee Seidel.
The administration report for this evening is as follows. Village Hall modified hours. The Village Hall continues to operate with modified hours in order to accommodate additional cleaning and sanitizing recommendations related to COVID-19. Village offices are open to the public Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Residents are encouraged to continue to utilize online services as much as possible. If you must visit Village Hall, a face covering is required and social distance must be maintained. Block parties now permitted. Due to Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order, a temporary suspension was placed on block parties throughout the village. As the state has moved into phase 4 of Governor Pritzker's Restore Illinois plan, the village has lifted the suspension subject to adhere of certain regulations. These regulations are intended to protect public health and safety while still allowing residents to engage in this important community building activity. The new regulations are included in the block party application available on the village website, www.lagrangepark.org. Vehicle stickers and dog license renewal. Due to COVID-19, village vehicle sticker and dog tag due dates have been extended to October 31st, 2020. Stickers with the July 31st, 2020 expiration date are valid until October 31st. Questions regarding the deadline extension may be directed to Village Hall at 708-354-0225. Construction updates. Summer is construction season and there is a lot of work going on in and around the village. For information on the status of road construction and water and sewer related construction, please check the village's website or sign up for the village's weekly electronic newsletter, eBrief. Construction updates are provided weekly and include information about village and neighboring community projects. And that concludes the administration report, and that is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Moving on to Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the building department activities for June 2020 to report, and I also have one item for discussion and action. 146 building permits were issued in June compared to 103 in last June. There have been 391 permits issued so far this year compared to 381 year-to-date last year. Estimated construction costs for the month were just over $1.8 million, which is 44% increase compared to the same time last year. Permit fees collected for the month were over $44,000, up nearly 70% to the same period last year. 131 inspections were conducted in June compared to 120 last June. 5 were not approved. During the month, building staff made various adjustments in relation to reopening the Village Hall. A self-service kiosk area was set up in the lobby for the building department where residents and contractors can submit permit applications and other documents and pick up permits while limiting any actual contact with the village staff. Staff conducted initial inspections for the new dental office at 1018 East 31st. There are still some outstanding items yet to be resolved, but good progress is being made. An occupancy inspection was conducted for a new hair salon at 1901 East 31st Street. Drain tiles, sewer, backflow devices, and rear yard drainage permits have increased significantly this month due to recent rain events. In addition, village staff, along with Mark from Hancock, continue to speak with residents and visit properties to help with solutions related to flooding. So my item for discussion and action is something that we look at annually. In 2015, Nazareth Academy was granted a variance from the village board to install permanent lights on the existing football field. The purpose of the lights was to allow for evening practices and sporting events. The village's board approval of the variation for the lights was conditioned upon several items, including a restriction to 5 night football games per year and the requirement to obtain an exception from the village's nuisance regulations in order to operate their sound system past 9 p.m. during the night football games. In accordance with the zoning approval, Nazareth Academy has submitted a temporary use permit application requesting an exception to the nuisance regulations regarding noise for the following night football games: Friday, September 18th, 2020, Friday, September 25th, 2020, Friday, October 9th, 2020, Friday, October 16th, 2020, and Friday, October 23rd, 2020. The games will begin at 7 p.m. and are anticipated to conclude by 10 p.m. Village staff may approve the event as a permitted temporary use in accordance with Section 153.195 of the Village Municipal Code, but cannot approve the event to operate past 9 p.m. due to the village nuisance restrictions. Section 93.04.c.5 of the Village Municipal Code classifies all loud and discordant noises or vibrations of any kind between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. as a nuisance affecting peace and safety. The municipal code permits the village board to approve an exception to the nuisance restrictions for temporary uses. As such, should the village board approve an exception to nuisance restrictions specific to the identified dates, village staff will approve their temporary use application. Staff recommends that the village board grant a specific exception to the village noise restrictions in accordance with their authority as contained in Section 93.04.c.5 of the municipal code. I'd like to make a motion to grant an exception to the nuisance regulations contained in Section 93.04.c.5 as amended of the Village Municipal Code for the purpose of allowing Nazareth Academy to operate their sound system until 10 p.m. on September 18th, 25th, 9th of October, October 16th, October 23rd, 2020.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I've lost audio.
We can still hear you. We can hear you, Bob.
Discussion? Trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted, Bob, can you hear us?
Bob, can you hear us?
No.
I think we have to make sure that everybody can hear us during the meeting, and Kathy's nodding, so we have to make sure. Let's wait just a little bit. Bob?
Julia, can we connect Bob and tell him to get on by phone?
Yeah.
That be possible? If everybody has the call-in number so that if you lose audio, you can just call in. That way we'll keep people involved in the meeting.
Yeah, if everyone can just hold tight. Sometimes the internet's not as good as we would like for these types of events. Hang on, I'm sending this to Bob.
But for everybody else, I mean, we've got several trustees on the phone anyway, but the call-in number is 1-408-650-3123. Access code 858-584-461.
It looks like Bob called in.
Hey, Bob, can you hear us now?
I just rejoined. I'm okay now, it seems like.
Okay.
Okay, so we were at discussion with Trustee Zora.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As I said, we go through this every year, and as far as I know, we haven't had any issues. I wanted to ask Chief Contois if he was aware of any problems last year.
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, so, I mean, we've been doing this for several years now and with no incidents, so I have no issue with approving. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Trustee Seidel?
I'm in support as well. If there's been no issues in the past, I don't see any reason not to pass this.
Thank you, Trustee Seidel. Trustee Casera?
I am in full support.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Trustee Sheehan?
I'm in full support, Mr. President. I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll have a season, but not going to hold my breath.
And Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Trustee Lautner?
I support.
Thank you, trustee Lautner. Trustee Messick?
I support. I'm in full agreement with my fellow trustees.
Great. Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. You know, unfortunately, they lost J.J. McCarthy, so we'll see how they're going to be. Okay, moving on to engineering capital projects. Trustee Kucera?
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight I'm reporting on the engineering and capital project summary report for June 2020. I have 3 items to report on. Construction in the 31st Street water main has started. The contractor, A-Lamp Concrete Contractors, began installing all the water main crossing of 31st Street within steel casing pipe. They then started placing a 12-inch water main eastward from Meadowcrest Road. The new water main will be installed to Barnesdale Road with connections made at all of the cross streets. After the pipe has been pressure tested and chlorinated, water service lines will be transferred to the new water main. Work is expected to continue through the summer and complete before the end of the construction season. Second item, Mr. President. Tree Construction, Inc. has substantially completed the work of their contract with the village for the alley and off-street parking project. The alleys between Raymond Avenue and Alama Terrace, just north of 31st Street, were reconstructed with concrete pavement. New public parking spaces were constructed on the west side of Beach Avenue, north of 31st Street. Parking stalls have been a decorative, stamped, and colored concrete design. After the decorative concrete is sealed, the spaces will be open to the public. Final landscaping will be completed when weather permits. Decorative plantings are being considered for the Parkway Islands. Third item, Mr. President. Design work for the Grange Road Water Main, Phase 2 continues. This part of the project encompasses installing water mains on Grange Road from Garfield Avenue north and east to a connection at 31st Street, and then north and west through the alley to another connection on Grange Road. After the plans are drawn, detailed estimates of costs can be calculated and specifications prepared. The project is scheduled to be built in the 2021 construction season. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Kucera. Public safety, trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. From the public safety area for the month of June, report first of all for the police department. Total number of crimes this year are slightly higher than last year at this time, with 155 reported this year compared to 152 last year. Traffic enforcement is at 1,018 total tickets issued through June of 2020. Overall police activity is slightly lower to last year, with 3,734 total incidents reported through June of 2020 compared to 4,245 total incidents through June of 2019. Mark your calendars and do not miss out on the upcoming police department special events. First, the Citizens Police Academy starts Saturdays, August 1st through September 5th of 2020 from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. in the Village Hall boardroom. Please contact Officer Chris Dempsey at 708-352-7711 for further information, or stop into the police department to pick up an application. Face coverings are required. The second event is Coffee with the Chief and Staff. That's scheduled for Saturday, August 15th, 8 o'clock a.m. to 9 a.m., not p.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. at the Memorial Park Band Shelter. So, due to COVID-19, please bring your own coffee. And as always, a friendly reminder to our citizens about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and your residences, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online vacation watch portal, frontlinepss.com/LaGrange Park, or log into the village website and access the portal under the police department page. If you do not have internet access, feel free to fill out a vacation watch card at the police department between hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. And that concludes the report for the police department for the month of June, and from our fire department for the month of June. EMS incidents this month total 127. Year-to-date, there have been 762 compared to 738 year-to-date 2019. Fire rescue incidents this month are 54. There have been 235 year-to-date compared to 288 year-to-date in 2019. Various training sessions and meetings took place by video conference throughout the month. We also began hands-on training in small groups on a staggered start schedule for regular weekly scheduled training. During such training, based upon protests and civil unrest that began, we took a few minutes at each session to discuss what was taking place with a focus on racism in the workplace. During a couple of the protest marches taking place in adjacent villages, some additional personnel were hired back for additional coverage if needed. 6 of our 9 candidates passed their state certification testing for both basic operations firefighter and hazardous materials operation and have been moved from candidate to probationary status. A sprinkler pressure test was conducted for the new home built at 821 North Wyola. Personnel received additional cloth-based covering masks, of which the Foreign Fire Insurance Board funded 50 of them. The fire chief attended the virtual Illinois Fire Service Home Day, usually held in person. Some legislators or their aides attended, so we may discuss needs and funding of fire service operations. And a few items of noteworthy event over the month. On the 6th of June, an engine and chief assisted Brookfield with a garage fire in the 8500 block of Parkview. On the 8th of June, responded to a deck fire on the rear of a home on Cleveland Avenue. On the 18th of June, responded to a report of a gas odor in a second-floor apartment, and upon investigation found very high readings of natural gas in the building, requiring evacuation. Our firefighters shut off the gas supply and ventilated the building, and upon searching it, discovered the stove burner was on in one of the units. The occupant of that unit was evaluated by EMS and the police department and was transported to the hospital. On the 26th of June, they responded to a fire on the stove in the second-floor apartment at 1217 North Grange Road. And last day of the month, on the 30th of June, responded to a fire in the basement of the Commons building at Bethlehem Woods involving a large HVAC chiller, which also involved a large leak of refrigerant. And that concludes my report from the public safety area this evening, Mr. President. And there are no items for action.
Moving on, Public Works Committee, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I have staff officially came back to normal shifts as Illinois reached phase 3 in the COVID recovery plan. Employees are continuing to sanitize our work areas and equipment regularly and maintaining social distancing practices to the best of their abilities. The Village Brush Program continued the first full week of June. Crews made multiple passes throughout town. Due to an intense storm that happened on June 9th, DPW made a special brush pickup for residents who were faced with storm damage. Due to the storm previously mentioned, DPW rented a lift truck in order to remove numerous hanging tree limbs and for the removal of hazardous trees. New American flags were put up on 31st Street from the Grange Road to Kemen. Hydrant flushing has been completed in the center section of town and has begun on the west side starting Ashland. Various street repairs were made to pavement, and permanent patching will continue throughout the summer. Various water and sewer work orders were completed, along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. One water service line was repaired along with the installation of a new fire hydrant. Water meters were read to Section 3, and 15 monthly bacterial samples were taken along with UCMR 4 samples. Staff members went to Caterpillar at their Elmhurst facility to demo different models of backhoes and to gather information and specs to help finalize their decision on a replacement. We'll talk about that later. Routine maintenance to the department fleet and equipment was performed, as well as police and fire vehicles as needed. Next, Mr. President, I have the ComEd Butterfly Grant. The purpose to request approval to accept ComEd's Green Region Grant in order to construct multiple butterfly gardens throughout the village of LaGrange Park. General background, LaGrange Park has been awarded this grant after applying for it in February of this year. This is a fantastic opportunity to help diminishing pollinator populations and to improve the village-owned green spaces. Not only do we plan to beautify our village, but we also look to build community awareness, support, and involvement with education resources and participation with construction. With this project, ComEd will provide the village with an award and media coverage to showcase the project. We have been awarded $2,500 and will be required to match the awarded funds. This will give the village a total of $5,000 for the project budget, which will not begin until spring of 2021. The matching $2,500 will be added to the village public works budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, and completion of the project must occur by March of 2022. This is a great opportunity to help our environment and to make LaGrange Park an even more spectacular place to live. Through the application process, I have found numerous community organizations who would like to assist with the creation of these butterfly gardens. Some of these committed groups are the LaGrange Park Sustainability Commission. They always do a great job. Forest Road Girl Scout Troop number 56054, and the classes of the Science Center at Barnesdale Road School. Staff recommends the approval of this resolution to accept the awarded grant in the amount of $2,500 from ComEd Green Region, and will provide the $2,500 matching funds from the Public Works 2021-2022 budget. Therefore, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the participation in the ComEd Green Region program for the Village Butterfly Gardens project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan?
Fully support this. Sounds like a great idea. I think we'll get a lot of community involvement on this, and it's a good thing for the stewards of the environment.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with Trustee Sheehan. I think it's really an excellent project for the community, and fully support it.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I too concur with my fellow trustees. I support this. It sits right in line with community values as the residents have stressed multiple times.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Trustee Seidel?
I fully support this as well. I concur with my fellow trustees.
Trustee Zora?
I also fully support this. I think it's a great idea.
And Trustee Kucera?
I completely concur with my fellow trustees.
Okay. Yeah, what a great idea, huh? Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry, no, I'm having trouble with the mic.
Thanks. Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel? Yes. The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Continue, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lastly, I have the equipment purchase for a new 2020 backhoe. The purpose to approve a purchase of a 2020 Caterpillar 430 backhoe loader with accessories. The fiscal year 2021 budget includes finances allocated for the purchase of a new backhoe, necessary and services provided by our Public Works Department. The current backhoe is a 1999 John Deere 310 SE, which has served the Village Public Works Department for well over the last 20 years. A DPW staff committee was convened, as we talked about earlier, for the purpose of demo with both a John Deere and a Caterpillar backhoes for 1 week. Staff unanimously determined the Caterpillar machine better suited for the many needs of the Public Works maintenance operation. Sorry, my screen, something happened to my screen. Machine specifications and pricing were reviewed, including a total cost of $131,580, and includes an additional auto lube system from Altorfer Caterpillar Company. Caterpillar has been in operation for more than 85 years and is considered significant and heavy construction equipment. Packaged in the price are key components, including an extended warranty, a 2-year service plan, a breaker, 2 digging buckets, a quick release rear coupler, and a 4-way front bucket. Additionally, Altorfer provided a trade-in value of $18,000 for our current John Deere backhoe. Staff notes further items essential for a complete build-out, but not included in the overall price from Altorfer is a 2-way radio installation, $200, and decals, $525, which will be installed after the new machine is delivered. Sourcewell was previously approved by Village Attorney Keating for large purposes. The Grange Park became a member of Sourcewell in 2020, a national cooperative bidding firm. The village has budgeted $160,000 in the water fund, capital outlay 04444400 for this purchase. Staff recommends Village Board accept quote 120393-03 from Altorfer Caterpillar in the amount of $131,580 for a new Caterpillar 430 backhoe. Motion 1 to accept the proposal from Altorfer Caterpillar in an amount of $131,580, and 2 to authorize the village president to execute the contract document.
Second. A motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan?
Hey, Director Raddy's on the line, correct?
Yes, Trustee Sheehan.
I thought when we talked about this at the work session, are we going with the Caterpillar or are we going with a John Deere?
No, it's the Caterpillar. We talked about it was the same memo from the work session meeting.
Okay, for some reason I had John Deere in the back of my mind. Okay, yeah, I fully support this. Thanks, Director Reddy. I fully support this. I think it'll be good. I think we got our money's worth. The equipment lasting 20 years. With the add-ons, I think it'll increase safety. It'll also increase production on the end user. So I totally support this.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Trustee Casera?
Fully support.
Trustee Zora?
I fully support this.
Trustee Seidel?
I fully support this as well.
Trustee Messick? In concurrence with my fellow trustees. And Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. You may recall that I had raised a couple of questions at the work session, a little bit of a concern about the timing, not from a need standpoint, but more from a financial position, looking for more updated information as to our financial position, given the current state of affairs with COVID and impact on our financials, et cetera. And I just wanted to share that as a follow-up to that discussion, I contacted staff and then talked with Larry and Julia this afternoon and became, actually, I think that from a financial standpoint, especially considering that the water fund is separate, reserves going into this year were solid. We had the opportunity to budget for the no increase decision that we made. And, given those factors and the fact that the water fund is a standalone, but, I'm comfortable that the timing does in fact fully support moving forward with this. I was just wanting to make sure that we, we're looking at this as closely as possible, given all the impact on our financials from the COVID impact. So, I apologize for the long explanation, but I did want to say that I support this.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Larry or Julie, any additional comments? Rick? Julia? No? Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel? Yes. The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And Trustee Sheehan, thank you.
President.
Okay, moving on, Finance Committee, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Financial update as of June 30th of this year. Fiscal date, year to date, general fund revenue is 8.6% of the annual budget, about $257,000 or 25.3% lower than the prior year. Primary reasons for the decrease are drop in income tax receipts and the postponement of vehicle sticker sales as a result of the coronavirus crisis. Property tax receipts are down compared to the prior year. However, the amount received in the first 2 months of the fiscal year is generally low, as tax bills are not due until later in the summer. Cook County has also postponed late fees through October 1st due to the coronavirus. Therefore, receipts will likely be comparatively lower until the fall. Other local taxes are lower by about $4,800 or 2.3%, primarily due to a continued decline in telecom taxes. Sales tax receipts were 15.1% higher than the prior year. June tax receipts reflect March sales. License revenue is down nearly 95% because vehicle sticker sales have been postponed due to COVID-19. Permit receipts are down 3.7% or $2,100 compared to the prior year. Intergovernmental receipts are down about $133,500 or 30.1% compared to last year due to a 38% decline in income tax as a result of COVID-19 crisis. The state use tax receipts increased by 9.4%. Charges for services are up about $13,400 or 31.8% due to increased ambulance fee collection compared to last year. And fine revenue is approximately $7,400 or 28% higher than the prior year. Local ticket revenue is about $8,000 higher, and fines were increased in October 2019. Miscellaneous revenue is about $37,600 or 31.4% lower than last year. Interest income is down about $13,000. Total general fund expenditures are at 12.2% of the annual budget and about $157,000 or 12.5% lower than last year. All departments are within budget expectations. And that concludes the finance report. Mr. President, there are no action items.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Any trustees have any questions on the financial report? Okay, moving on to other reports. Our village clerk, Megan.
I have no report tonight, Mr. President.
Okay, our village treasurer, Larry.
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Commercial Revitalization Committee, Trustee Kucera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 items to report on this evening. The new public parking spaces on North Beach Avenue, immediately north of 31st Street, are now open and available for public use. As in prior conversation, there's some great work being done to make them look good, and some restoration work and landscaping remain and will be completed by fall. Second item, to provide additional support to businesses, the village included a 6-page promotional insert in the summer edition of the Rose Clippings. All brick and mortar businesses in the village were encouraged to submit a logo, message, or coupon for inclusion at no cost to them. We encourage all residents to review and insert the consider patronizing our local village. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Our village engineer, Mark.
No report tonight, Mr. President.
Our village attorney, Kathy.
I have no report, Mr. President.
Okay, motion to approve committee and collectors reports. So moved. Second?
Second.
Okay, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. I just have a couple items. First of all, even with continuing to go through this pandemic, I want to again thank staff, Julia, Emily, Chief Magus, Chief Contois, Larry, everyone involved in our village to continue to make our village shine during these hard times. August 8th, Rosati's, we're having a ribbon cutting at 3 o'clock. And then the following week, August 14th, is the Arbor Day.
7.
7. 7? Okay, August 7th is Rosati's? Let me get my notes straight here. Okay, August 14th is Arbor Day though, right? Okay, so that's, we're honoring Jack Ryder, who's a past trustee of the village and has done a lot of things for the village. That will be on the 14th at Public Works at 10 o'clock, I believe. Is that what it is, Rick? Okay, 10 o'clock on August 14th. Okay, any public participation? Julie, see no one on the line. Any new business? Okay, good to see everybody. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion in a second. Okay. Do you have to do roll call on this one, Julia? Okay, Megan, you're up.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Kucera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Seidel?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Again, it's good to see everyone. Have a great week and stay well.
You too.
Excuse me, Mr. President. May I have a moment off the record, please? And Chief Magus, if you're in the room, please help me. We lost a great resident, young lady, last week to suicide. Nicole Attic. She was a Hinsdale fireman. She grew up in the countryside area. Took her life. Chief Magos, thank you for posting the suicide prevention pieces. As a side note, my daughter's best friend, and vice versa. They ran together at Lyons Township for 4 years. Spent a first semester at college, and Nicole spent many New Year's Eves at our house, and I drove them many days to B-dubs for Blackhawks games. What young ladies don't like to watch the Blackhawks? But I just wanted to say, please pray for her family. She was a wonderful young lady, and we're going to miss her. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Trustee Kucera, for bringing that forward. And yeah, it's never good to hear anything like this. And we wish her family our condolences and wish them well in the future. So thank you, Trustee Kucera.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, guys, have a great week.
Thank you. Take care.